Hello dear students, welcome back. This question is from GATE 2007 exam. They have given you this program and you need to find its output in two cases. Case 1 is if static scoping is used. Case 2 is if dynamic scoping is used. Also, in question they have mentioned that this program or this code is written in some hypothetical programming language. Okay, it's clear that it cannot be C language, because in C language we don't have these keywords program, procedure. Okay, so it is not C language. Let us start this question with case 1, that is static scoping. What is static scoping? It is very similar to C language. C language uses these scoping rules. So just assume this code to be in C language and solve it. That is for static scoping. You can see that is very easy. So let me just discuss few points about the scoping. In static scoping, suppose you are inside some function and you cannot resolve some variable name. For example, in this line only, I is being used, but it is not declared inside this main function. So what has to be done? Static scoping says, come out of this function. That means come outside of these pair of brackets. So if you come outside, then you will be in global scope. Is there some variable that has this name and is present in global scope? Yeah, there is this variable I. So this variable name will be resolved to global variable. Okay. See, if there is some function f like this, if here you are trying to use some variable that is not declared inside this block, what has to be done? Come outside of these pair of brackets. That means look in these pair of brackets. If you cannot find it here also, come outside of these pair of brackets also. That means look in global scope. Similarly, suppose there is some pair of brackets like this. You just keep on coming one level outside. If you cannot find it here, look in these brackets. If you cannot find it here, look in these brackets, and so on. So let us just solve this question for static scoping. This is a global variable, so it will be declared in data section of the code. Now you have declared this global variable, start executing from main function. That means call the main function. Suppose this is activation record for the main function. That means all the local variables of main function will be declared here. So start executing main function from line number 1. Line number 1 says to a variable called I assign a value 10. First of all, look inside this activation record. Is there any I? No, it is not present. What has to be done? Come one level out. That means look in global space. So inside this data section, there is a variable I. Simply assign it a value 10. This line is executed. Go to next line. It says call f. Whenever any function is called, a activation record will be pushed. Suppose this is the activation record of this new function f. Now find where is f. This is f. That means execute this function. First line in this function is trying to declare a variable I as well as assign it a value 20. So all the local variables, see, this variable is declared inside this function only. That means it will get memory inside the activation record of f. So this I and this I, they are separate. Now it is declared, assign it a value 20 like this. Then next line says call g. This function is now calling one more function. So push activation record for new function onto the stack. This is activation record of g. Now this line is a call statement, hence jump to the new function. This is the function g. It says print I. Inside this function, you are trying to print a variable I. Can you find any I here? No. It is clear from this code also, I is being used, but it is not declared inside these brackets. So what has to be done? Static scoping, the scoping says, look outside of these pair of brackets. That means come out of this level of brackets or come out of this block. So outside of this block, there is global scope. That means look in data section. So there is a variable I, there is a variable named I which has a value 10. So what will be printed? 10 will be printed. That means in static scoping, answer is 10. Okay. Now let us discuss what will happen in dynamic scoping. Dynamic scoping says if currently you are executing here and you cannot find any variable, just look in the lower activation record. Okay, let me just explain it with this example only. So first thing is declare this variable I in data section. So variable I is declared. Now start from the main function. Call the main function. That means push its activation record. Okay. So this is activation record of main. Now first line of main is trying to assign a value 10 to variable I. What will happen? You are in this activation record. Look to the lower record. Okay. Now you can see this is the first record. There is no activation record present below the record of main. What has to be done? Then look in the global space. So below this main function, there is no activation record. Then you have to go into the global space. So this variable name, it resolves to global variable I. So assign it a value 10. Now next line is calling a function. Calling a function means push activation record of the new function. Then first line in the new function says int I is equal to 20. So variable is being declared. Declare it in the activation record of that function like this. Okay. Then next line is call g. Call g means a new function is called that has this name g. So push its activation record and go to that function. So currently you are in this function. First line in this function says print I. Inside this function, you are trying to print a variable I, but I is nowhere found in this activation record. See, in this function, you haven't declared I, you are simply using I. So what has to be done? Dynamic scoping says, look in the lower activation record. So can you find any I in lower function? Yes, there is I. Simply take its value and print. So dynamic scoping will give you a output 20. Now one more point that I want to discuss is what will happen if you cannot find any I in this activation record also. Then what? Then look in lower activation record. That means inside main function. What if you cannot find a variable named I in main function also? Then look in global space. What if you cannot find any I in global space also? Then simply give an error. That means keep on coming down the stack, and once you reach the global space and still you cannot find any variable called I, then give an error. Okay. That's all about this question. So it has answered 10 in static scoping and 20 in dynamic scoping. Okay.